Well, hi all, welcome back to the channel. Well, in 2023, we set ourselves a challenge to build an overland camper, an expedition vehicle for £100,000. How wrong were we? So how much has it cost to turn this into this? Well, yeah, this video was all about money, how much we've spent.
Too much.
And it's pretty painful, I have to say, and there's a number of factors for that, really. And over the last few years, the cost of living, the cost of everything pretty much, as you well know, has gone up, and it's gone up significantly, and that's included our build costs as well. And it's pretty shocking how much we've spent, because when we made our little video a long time ago and sort of said we're building a truck, we're going to build it for £100,000, and I think I joked about it costing 125,000.
We did really think we could do that. You know, we had built houses before. We stood in trucks and thought, where's all the money? And yeah, it's come as a bit of a shock to us, I think, that we haven't been able to, and we're not going to be able to meet that.
Well, the truth is, budget. We will have massively overspent, and we've always set out to be transparent about this, because we have gone to these shows. We've gone to the big shows in Germany, and we thought, well, you know, as Issy said, where is the money? Where is that 400, 500, 600,000 pounds? We could never quite see it. So here we are. We said we'd share the numbers, so we're going to share the numbers.
Yep. So periodically, as we talk through each section, you'll see some charts and pie charts and things pop up on the screen so that you can see exactly what we're talking about. When we put the budget together, we based it on 5 sections. So we had the base vehicle, the hab box, the electrics, the gas, water and heat, and then the fabrication. And it hasn't been quite as cut and dried as that, because some things have sort of crossed over and gone into different sections and things. But we've tried to make it as accurate as possible.
I always find myself saying the same sort of thing when we do these talking videos, is that if you've done a project like this before, you'll really understand it. You'll get what I'm talking about, because it is incredibly fragmented. It's fragmented physically on the build, and it's fragmented in terms of the budget side of it.
Yes.
One side sort of merges into another, and of course it does, because that's just the sort of the nature of the build and the nature of the cost. Paint, for example, you're going to paint a vehicle. Well, you're not just painting the cabin, you're painting the whole thing. And so some of the numbers will give that sort of individual figure, and then obviously the total figure for that.
So in terms of the base vehicle, you all know that we bought an MAN TGM last November. And I think you all probably know as well that we got a bit of a shock when we had to spend £6,000 having the
injectors.
That's right, the injectors replaced. So when you look at the pie chart that Phil's going to put up on the screen as we're talking, you can see that actually the base vehicle has now become the biggest part of the spend. And the real tragedy is that we have got still more money to spend on it.
We have.
It's in the garage at the moment, waiting for
an EGR.
We don't quite know how much that's going to cost, but it's certainly going to have several zeros on the end of it.
Yeah, it's in the thousands, so it's big numbers. So if you're involved with trucks, it doesn't matter if they're new or old, particularly the new stuff. Don't be surprised to get a £5,000, £10,000 bill.
Yeah. So if you look at the columns where you can see the red, which is the cost, the spend to date, and the blue, which is the original budget, you can see the base truck, we've already spent way over what our original budget was, and I think we're over 40k now in terms of the base vehicle. And there was a real balance there, wasn't there? Because we would have preferred to buy something older that didn't have all these sensors and electronics and things, but there just wasn't anything on the market. And actually, you don't know that you wouldn't have had other problems with an older vehicle.
Well, I think part of the issue is whatever vehicle you buy, you're going to have to spend money on it. Now, if you buy an older vehicle, then clearly, you know, there's an issue potentially with seals and, you know, rubber components, maybe brakes, and so you're always going to have to spend money on the vehicle. The thing that sort of attracted me to the TGM that we bought was that it's ex-Environment Agency, and I know that, you know, typical government agency, they will have routinely maintained that vehicle and spent really good money on it, and some of the components have been replaced, such as the PM cat. You know, it's a good £5,000 there, and a few other bits and pieces. So it is what it is, and so ultimately, as I say, regardless of what you buy, you're going to, you know, if you spend 20 grand on a vehicle, you're probably going to spend another 10 grand putting it right.
Yeah. Yeah. So overspent on that section, well overspent on that section.
Yeah.
The next one to talk about is the hab box, and actually we haven't finished with the hab box because that's where the majority of the remainder of our budget will go. Well, I say budget, but money will go. So if you look at the pie chart, you can see that actually the hab box is the second biggest spend, which I was quite surprised by when we were looking at this. I thought the fabrication would be the second, but no, the hab box is definitely at 25% of the whole cost.
And just to try and put it into context, we're about 85% complete in terms of the physical build.
Yes.
And we'll probably do another one of these videos at the very end, just to sort of you know, close it off and say, yeah, we spent X amount.
Yeah. And if you look at the columns chart, you can see that actually we're underspent to date on the hab box, but we still have got, I reckon, another 15, maybe 18,000 to spend there.
Yeah.
Sheet materials has been a big surprise for us.
Yeah.
The cost of ply has gone through the roof. And Phil, you wanted to use Minitech, didn't you, to frame out?
I did. So we went to the Aventure and Allrad last year in Germany. It's a fabulous show. And actually we come across a company, we were introduced to a company called Minitech. And it's basically 80-20. It's an aluminium sort of box section, if you like, profile system that fits seamlessly together. And it's a thing of beauty. I think it's just gorgeous stuff. And I went down to Basingstoke, went to the factory. It's not open to the public. I made an appointment, went there, and I thought, this is incredible. But actually, and it could easily have done the job, but when it came back and costed what we needed, it was in the region of sort of £1,800. It was, at the time, it seemed like a lot of money. And so, and and obviously you're piecing together, and I thought, hold on a minute, that doesn't sort of sit right, it doesn't feel right. So in the end, although it's not as beautiful, it's you know, we've had the aluminium framework welded in sort of box sections, if you like, and sort of put into place, so it can still be unbolted and then removed. Yeah.
I think this area as well is a good example of where we perhaps could have done a bit more research. I can remember very clearly thinking, okay, we're going to need some catches and handles, you know, like slam lock type things, and having a cursory look and putting £200 in the budget. Yeah. But when we actually then came to specify those things, we found that, you know, if we wanted metal, which is ideally what we wanted, you were talking 60 quid per slam lock, and we need 26 of them. So suddenly our budget was busted. In fact, we did actually compromise there because we just couldn't face...
To give you an idea, we actually did order about 5 different slam latches.
And even the £60 ones, the finish was dreadful.
And we weren't impressed with any of them. We thought, oh, these are rubbish. They look great in the render on screen. We got them. We thought the quality was poor. So we actually went with a plastic, sort of, I suppose, a good quality plastic block in the end. But there had to be a saving somewhere along the line. Yeah, there did.
So that was there was definitely some naivety on our part, I think, there. Moving on to the electrics, we were actually, if you look at the column chart, we were pretty bang on the money with the electrics, because that's the sort of thing you can go online, you can put it into a basket, you can work out exactly what the cost is going to be, and you know you're in the right ballpark. The installation was a little bit more than we expected it to be, and it's still quite a big part of our overall spend. But we did maybe over-specify what we wanted, but I think we've been in too many situations over the past couple of years where we haven't had enough juice to be able to work or put the heating on or whatever, and we just didn't want to be in that position again.
And the thing is, you could actually, so yes, you don't need a system as big as ours, and you could fit it yourself, and you know, I could have fitted it myself, but actually what I wanted was that worldwide support. I wanted the sort of surety that, you know, I'm not an electrician, I don't claim to be, and yes, I could have sort of mounted on the board, and I could have done a lot of, you know, 90% of the work.
Well, we could have not gone with Victron, but we like the Victron stuff, and we have faith in it.
So we thought, well, it's an area that we don't want to get wrong, and I suppose we were happy to sort of pay the money and have a really good installation, and I think that's what we got.
Yeah, I think we've got absolute confidence in the system. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. So moving on. Water and gas. This is a relatively small spend in comparison to the other bits of pie on the chart, but it's important because this is about safety of the water, you know, gas safety, and these things are all fundamental to being comfortable, I suppose, on the road. So things that we found difficult to cost as we were putting this budget together were things like tanks, and we ended up specifying and having both our waste tank and our freshwater tank made to measure, because we wanted to maximise the space that we had, but we had no idea how much that would cost.
That was so. For example, the waste tank, the tank that I fitted first, you know, we had a dedicated space, so I left space in the subframe. So there was a gap in the chassis. I thought, right, the waste tank's going in there right from the off. That's where the waste tank's going. So when the subframe was being fabricated, or when I was designing it, I was like, right, that space has to be kept free. So we knew exactly the space. I knew that I wanted a bigger waste tank than I had in the previous truck. So I thought, right, I can get a 200 litre waste tank in there. It was a certain dimension. You can't buy that off the shelf. And so we had to have it made. We probably spent 4 times the cost of, you know, just buying one off the shelf. Same again with the freshwater tank. We had a space, and we thought, right, we want to sort of maximize the space. And it probably cost him again 4, if not 5 times more than, you know, buying.
I mean, we've busted the budget here. We've spent double what we thought we would spend, and a big part of that is actually, I was absolutely horrified when I added up how much money we've spent on pipes, plumbing fittings, John Guest speed fit stuff.
That's the stuff you blasé about. When you're sort of thinking about, you know, the concept building the truck, you go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we do need pipe fittings, we do need, but it's sort of petty stuff. It's a couple of quid here, a couple of quid there.
Well, I had 500 quid in for pipes and fittings, and actually we spent nearly £1,400 on bits of plastic.
I still don't believe that, but
I've got every single receipt.
I know you do, but it's because you go to, you know, I go to Screwfix, I go to the plumbers merchants, and I get a valve, or I get a bag of knuckles, and it's, you know,
it just adds up, doesn't it?
You know, it's like 170 odd for a fitting, but when you've got 56 of them, and then you've got, you know, a couple of valves are 7 quid each, then you've got, and suddenly, you know, when you actually sit down and work it out, and now what we're talking about, things like the Valetti valve for the, you know, so there are a few bits in there that are fairly expensive, but yeah, it really does add up.
Yeah, it does, definitely. Okay, moving on. The big unknown, fabrication. I mean, we didn't know how much to put in the budget for fabrication. I think we had 10 grand in originally, which, and looking back now with the knowledge that we have and what we've learned, is actually laughable. Because this is really bespoke work. It's time consuming. It's complicated. It's really important to get it right.
I think part of the problem with this is we're pretty non-compromising people. We set out to build a truck that was capable, beautiful, something that we're really proud of. And, you know, clearly we want to sort of finish correctly. And we've been a little bit sort of fussy. We know exactly what we want. And when you're sort of looking at, you know, whether it's the entrance way into the vehicle, whether it's a stepper, platform, whatever, you know, we've massively overspent in certain areas. That is a really prime example, you know, the whole sort of platform thing, because it is so bespoke. And yeah, a number of people have said to me, love the step, can we get the blueprint for it? Absolutely not. No way.
No blueprints
it's
for
still
anything.
not complete, still not finished, and it's that level of sort of bespoke work that really sort of, you know, it's all time, and so you're standing there. I'm there every day, and I'm sort of working it. I can see Izzy's not, and so I have to try and explain to Izzy, look, you know, this time is money. Is that what I was saying? And that's exactly the case with fabrication, coupled with the cost of sheet materials. Yeah, it soon adds up.
Yeah, I agree. So to date, we've spent £23,500 with our fabricators. We've probably got another 5 to spend, because that doesn't include the bike rack and some other finishing sort of works. So we've probably busted that budget by at least times 2. And that's our biggest area of overspend.
Yeah.
And it's been the hardest to manage, because really, until you get the bill, it's been very difficult to anticipate what that bill's going to be. And we can only pay cash. We can't give them a credit card. It has to be cash.
So there's a cash flow thing there. But actually, when we say cash, bank transfer, but they're, you know, our fabricators, they're a locally run family business.
Yeah.
They've been exceptionally good with us. You know, we've known them a few years. They've done work on a previous stock, and they have been, what I would say is, just very quickly, I know I'm sort of veering off slightly here, but if you're going to build a truck, work with someone that you can sort of relate to, that gets you, that, and that's exactly what we have. And you know, some people might look at that and say, oh, you're being ripped off. We're not being ripped off any way, shape or form. You know, they've done us more favours than you can ever imagine. So yeah, anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So the reality is, when you go back to the bar chart and you look, you can see very clearly there that we were just on the £100,000 mark. I think actually the original budget was £101,050 or something, and you can see we've just to date spent a shade under 125. We are fully expecting that to top out at 140, maybe more, because we haven't really sat down and looked at the cost of the EGR valve yet. I think we're at a point where we just don't want to right now. It's too painful. So
Yeah.
I expect that the overspend will be somewhere between 40 and 50% by the time we finish. And I feel quite distraught by that, actually. I feel a little bit stupid that we didn't see it coming. I felt quite angry about it. What hasn't helped is that at the same time that all of this was going on and we were realising that our costs were going to go through the roof, the business has really had a difficult year because of Google and artificial intelligence and the way that those two enormities are messing about with the internet. So we've seen our income go down at a time when we needed, and we're expecting actually our income to increase. So we've had a bit of a double whammy this year, and it's actually been really challenging. I've gone through various. It's almost like a sort of a grief thing, saying goodbye to a lot of money that I thought we would be able to invest in other ways, or even enjoy and spend in other ways. And now it's gone into a truck that, frankly, right now I don't like very much. I don't mean I don't like it, I just don't like the truck, the entity of the truck. I feel like it's robbed me.
It's a typical sort of, if you watch Grand Designs, it's that sort of thing, isn't it?
It's true.
Where it's slightly different for me, because I'm at the truck, I'm at the coalface. I'm with the truck every single day. I'm thinking about the truck. It has dominated my life for probably the last 18 months. Well, not probably, it has dominated my life for the last 18 months. And,
It's been a passion
I can
project.
see it has, and I've really enjoyed it. But I can see where the money's going. I suppose that's the thing. I can sort of see the work involved. I can see it is frustrating when things like injectors go in, EGR valves, stuff like that, because that fine, it's probably good for another 100,000 miles, but it's a £5,000 bill that you weren't expecting, and so that's frustrating. But the actual, I think we probably could have built a truck for around £100,000. But we've been quite specific. We've been really, we set out to build something beautiful, and we wanted to be right and correct when we finish. And I suppose ultimately, we're pretty non-compromising people in that respect. And
yeah,
so
we know what we
decided,
want. And I think there was a point where we thought, do we stop? Do we sell it? Do we just move on and do something different? Do we really pull it back and maybe spread it out over the next couple of years and go off and do something else?
We were never going to sell it. We were not going to sell it.
No, but I think we arrived at a point to get together where we agreed that the only way to do it was to go forward and to finish it to the standard that we wanted, so that we have an asset that will be worth so much more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
So much more. Yeah. In a lot of ways. And I think, like all challenges, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I think you've been on a more of a... because you've been removed from it, you haven't been removed from the numbers, because Izzy's very good and it captures basically all
and
the
because of what's
expenditure.
Been happening with the business as well. So, I was expecting to have chunks of cash every month to put into the pot, and the chunks have been a lot smaller than my forecast for the year was. And
that makes you question your decision making process. Yeah. And I think it's it's that sort of hindsight, foresight, call it what you will. If we had sort of known from the off that actually our earnings were going to go down and our expenditure was going to be up significantly, then we probably would have either put the project on hold or decided on another project.
Yeah.
So, but you never quite know. Thankfully, we're coming out the other side.
Yeah, it does feel like it's coming to an end. I think we've got a bit more of a grip now on what we need to spend, because we've come to the end of the almost to the end of the fabrication work, which has been, I think, the biggest thing that's been difficult to predict.
Okay, well, typical GoPro, it overheated, so let's get back to it.
Yeah, I was just saying briefly, I think we've got a bit more of a handle on the spend to come. The kitchen people are really on side, and we've got a semi-formal number there. So I think we feel like we're a little bit more in control now. If we'd have been making this video 2 weeks ago, I'd have been sitting here with a tissue, probably crying my eyes out. But we've sort of moved past the worst of it, I think.
We have. Right, I think we're almost there, actually.
I think we've sort of covered everything we wanted to
But
cover.
I think just sort of summarised, so we will give a final number at the end of the build, whenever that might be, 10 years' time, because these things are never quite finished. You'll know that if you've got a truck. And there's a few things that we are actually going to leave until next year, just because they're quite big ticket items and we don't need them right now. So we just said, okay, we'll just sort of hold off, because we want to get travelling once again.
One of the things I'm really gutted about is my driver training. I think we're going to have to put that on hold.
Yeah.
It's just too much money right now. We just don't have endless supplies of money, so that's going to have to be put off probably until next year. I have a horrible feeling if I don't do it this year, I'm never going to do it.
You will.
But, you know, it just...
You made a promise on camera.
I did. But there are some things, you know, when you're working out what's got to give, you're either having a shower or and a shower tray and all the bits for a shower, or you're going to be a truck driver, and I'd rather have a shower.
Yeah. Right, just to summarise, I just want to say that, you know, I've really enjoyed the build process, but it can be stressful. It is stressful at times, there's no question about it. And that can lead to, you know, it's that sort of self-imposed pressure, and it can be quite sort of harming, and it's been difficult actually from a relationship point of view.
It has. Yeah, we've had probably more fallouts this year than we normally do. It hasn't helped, but we're living, you know, not in our own home, not in our own space. That makes a difference. But the other thing I do actually just want to add, which we didn't talk about, was that the fact that Phil has been so involved and has been so hands-on has probably saved us tens of thousands of pounds. Yeah. Because you've done the work of a one man every day, more than every day, really. Yeah. And you've brought a lot to the table.
And I think you're project managing as well. So you're not, you know, in a big company, you know, someone's being paid. There are a number of people there sort of being paid to project manage and trying to. And this is part of the thing. I come home in the evening, and we're constantly then sort of researching, ordering, you know, thinking, sitting down, designing, understanding, and that's what I mean when I say it's all engrossing. It really is. Yeah. But I think, you know, here we are coming out the other side, and I personally feel it'd be worth it. I think it's been
I feel that now.
One hell of a project.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of how it's coming together. Yeah. Just got to get this last little hurdle under our belt. Yeah. And we can get back on the road again. Yeah. So I do want to say a huge thank you for all the support.
Yes. Messages.
And all the comments and all the direct messaging by email, Instagram. I've been inundated, and I've been pretty rubbish actually at always going back to people. I do try and go back to everyone, but sometimes I'm just so up against it. There's just not enough hours in the day. So a huge thank you for all the support.
Absolutely.
With the build.
Yeah. And you were summarising 10 minutes ago, so...
Yeah, that's it.
I think we're done.
We're done. Till the next time.
Bye.
If you like us, give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thanks for now. Leave us a comment.
Bye.
Bye.